Hey, I wanted to make a quick intro before we jump into the interview video. This video was originally recorded in the middle of November, and it is in the middle of February now. And as you would have guessed, there have been a bunch of updates since then. And at the end of the video, we attached an update to this that kind of lets you know how it's performed since then. And as you have guessed, it's had some dramatic changes. So if you like the HCU update recovery kind of videos, this is for you, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks.
So in 3 days, you had lost 60-70% of your traffic.
This can't be real. I'm just waiting till the next update. Things are going to change for me.
Hey there, I'm Matthew Mellinger, co-founder of SEO Gets and owner of Local SEO Partners. I'm starting a new series where I sit down with some friends to talk about some of their most interesting stories from the battlefield that we all call SEO. Today, I'm actually super excited to introduce a good friend and actually kind of helps manage and run my SEO agency, Jamie Vi. Jamie, can you give me a little bit of background on yourself, how you got into SEO and kind of what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey's pretty interesting. I left the corporate world in about 2016, and I left that to do Amazon FBA. So that was kind of my foray into the digital space. I did that for a couple of years, kind of saw some writing on the wall there. I was doing private label stuff, so I was importing products from overseas. I had a couple different physical product brands. Started to compete with my suppliers. Margins started to get skinnier and skinnier. So while I was kind of winding that down, a business partner actually was like, "Hey, there's people that are making money doing blogs, and they're just like writing about things that they know about, that they care about, that they're interested in." And he's like, "Yeah, I think we should take a look at it." So yeah, I don't know how long it took for us we went through a course, kind of learned the process, learned the ropes, fired up our first blog in, I believe it was like middle of 2017. It was actually in the pet space. It's kind of interesting. I had just gotten a dog, and it was all about that specific breed of dogs, which is Labradoodle. And yeah, grew that site. We just kind of hit the ground running. It's like you feel like you get a feeling, and then you just kind of dive all in. At least that's how I am, for better or for worse. So we built that site, grew that site, expanded it into multiple breeds, ended up selling that site. And that's kind of how I got started with SEO, more on the content side of things.
So no formal training, just kind of picked it up. And then where did you learn from? Did you learn from a certain YouTube or Twitter or anything, or was it just YOLO mistakes?
I learned from a pretty popular course. I don't want to share.
Share it.
Get your video any heat. But,
what was the course?
Yeah, I actually went through the income school course.
Yeah. Okay. Jamie AIF will love this video.
Yeah. At the time it was awesome. There was not a lot of great courses out there, and at that point I don't think it really mattered what the course was. It was more of, I look back at my kind of career and path, and it's a lot of things are about timing.
With that, you got started. What was the process like? One did well, you scale up another one, you kept going. What was the process of building up the sites? How many sites did you have? And kind of talking peak, what did it look like to kind of build those up?
Yeah, so we were producing a good amount of content at scale with this site. We expanded that first site. We expanded into, I think, 35 or so different dog breeds. Probably had close to 800 articles on the site. And then it's just one of those things. It's like you see one thing that works, you see a clear path to scaling, you have your SOPs in place, and it's easy to just kind of replicate that process. So, I have, and I still have, a portfolio of sites that I have with a business partner, and I have a portfolio of sites that I have personally that I manage and operate. So at my peak, between both portfolios, probably had 10, I would say, sites that were producing income. And that just kind of, early on it was, we would fire up a new site or launch a new site based around personal interests, journeys in life, different things that we were going through. And that's just kind of how we expanded. And then, as we got more experience, then it's like, okay, well, this is more of a lucrative space. Let's get more into some affiliate type sites, and had hobby sites, sites in different gaming spaces, just kind of all over the place, honestly.
So then I gotta ask, I know you have a D&D site. Was that like a personal hobby interest, or like how did the D&D site come to be a thing?
Yeah, my business partner actually is into it, and he, was into it when he was growing up, and then kind of refound that passion and that interest, and he kept on telling me like, "Oh, I'm going to start one. I'm going to start one. I'm going to start one," kind of like on his own, and it didn't end up happening. And then we just said, let's just launch one together. And it was interesting because he was the topical expert, the content expert, and I was the operations guy. So I hired all of our writers. I mean, that was my biggest site. We grew it pretty massive. At its peak, it was doing 1 million page views a month. We had a team of writers writing pretty much full time for the site, and grew the site pretty quickly within 12 to 14 months. So
Wow. So approximately, if you can give me a range, how much were you making per month across your whole portfolio of sites?
yeah, at its peak, and we'll get into this more because I think we'll probably talk about helpful content update and stuff. But at its peak across portfolio, personal and with my partner, um, north of 30K a month. Best month probably closer to 40K.
Yeah, I'm looking at what the previous multipliers, what did it used to sell, what, 25, 30x?
Yeah, they would price sites based on monthly net profit, and the multiples, depending on the niche, were anywhere between 30 and 40 times.
So for all the people that don't want to do math at home, that's over $1 million in
Yeah,
sellable
yeah,
assets.
assets, and I mean, people were selling sites. I personally know a guy that sold a site for close to 700K. Um, that he kind of followed the same path that I did. It was about an interest that he was pretty passionate about. I mean, so there was there was a lot of sites that were selling during that time period.
Yeah, so that kind of leads up into the but then part of the story, which is HCU, which if most of us in the industry, like obviously know what HCU is, but everyone has a different perspective of what it is, how it was applied. Basically, the long story short is that along a lot of content sites got wrecked by Google overnight, and so I'd love to hear kind of uh, what you were doing prior to HCU, when HCU happened, and post HCU. What were you thinking? What did you do? What was that like as your revenue is just getting hit? How hard were you hit? What was the story around HCU for you, and what's your thought process around that whole awakening?
Man, I could talk about it for a long time. It was probably one of the wildest experiences in my business career, because I've kind of always run my business preparing for the worst at all times. So that is one positive thing, is you really truly don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot that I could unpack about learnings around HCU. I don't think we really have time for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we were running full steam ahead. At that point, before they rolled out the first version of the helpful content update, um, I mean, it was about getting as much content out as you could. That was the name of the game. Like everybody that I know that was in the content space, as much content as you publish, because it was just a numbers game. It's like, okay, this page, this article brings in X amount. Most of the sites that I ran were monetized by ad revenue, so it's like literally the revenue is directly tied to visitors on your site, and it's a numbers game. The more content you get out there, the more visitors you have coming to your site, the more you'll earn. When helpful content update hit us, specifically on the biggest site that we had, it kind of started out a little bit slow. It started to roll out. We could tell that we were like starting to get affected by it a little bit. We started to drop, and then it kind of like pulled a little fake on us, and it like pulled back, and we started to kind of regain lost traffic, and then the floor just completely dropped out. And it is Like looking back now, I can laugh. Then I wanted to cry because it was the most painful thing ever. Um, the interesting thing about the way that we were monetized, there's a delay in your payment. So you're typically it's either net 45 or net 60. So the traffic drop is happening. You're not necessarily feeling it yet because
Yeah.
your payments are delayed. So yeah, it was pretty terrible. We tried to keep as many people on as we could and keep them busy. The first thing that you want to do is you want to try and like fix things, and but you don't know what to fix, and that's just this vicious cycle that you can get into, and that eventually we did get into once things kind of hit the floor.
When the shit hit the fan.
Yes.
So one of the things that especially with this kind of series that we're doing is we want to talk specifically about certain stories. And so I want to pick apart what we're going to call parentingsite.com. We're going to keep it anonymous, but um, it's in the parenting niche. And can you give me a little bit of context around this particular
Sure.
site, and kind of we have the graphs here that we'll show for everyone if you like looking at some terrible loss charts. But yeah, so tell me a little bit about parentingsite.com.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. When you're an entrepreneur and you're in kind of the digital world, maybe this is just me. I don't know, but I've talked to at least one other person that can corroborate my story. Like I always have ideas. I always, especially when it comes to content sites, there's constant evolution of and ideation of new sites that you want to launch. And I always am trying to get my wife excited about what I'm doing. She understands baseline what I do. For the longest time, probably even after she married me, she didn't even honestly know how I made money, which is funny. So this, the parenting site was a project that she was sold on. I sold her on. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this collaboration, and it's gonna be great because we can work together on it, and I can, kind of stay in my lane and focus on the things I know, and you can like help me with ideas and all that stuff. It sounded great, and I'm like a good salesman. I can sell her on the idea, and she bought it.
Yeah.
So I launched the site. It was great, and no offense to her, I love her dearly. But she was excited for about a month or so, and then that kind of dried up. So then I was left running the site. Well, I grew a team around the site of moms, honestly, that people that I had. I don't remember how big the team got to. Probably about eight writers, and then I had I have a full time editor that worked across my projects. Um, it was the most legit site, honestly. Everything was 100% human written. From a moral standpoint, I said I'm not going to put any AI content on here because we wrote about topics that you just don't want that on there, and you don't want things getting messed up. So, 100% human written content.
Is my baby sleeping all right? Breathing problems? Just AI.
Yeah,
Quick.
yeah,
Yeah.
stuff that you don't want AI generated answers on. I even took it as far as to get a panel of experts. So we had a medical doctor and a nurse practitioner, and then another, nurse that reviewed certain content. So any content that had like even if it was very little medical information, if it had anything to do with medical, it was reviewed by one of those three people. And went the whole route of, this article was reviewed by this person, had profiles for everybody, like EEAT, all of the things you could do, at least that I thought you could do, to make the site as legitimate as possible. Site grew nicely. Yeah, I mean, it at its peak was doing probably around 150,000 page views a month. I don't know exactly how much it was bringing in. Probably about 7,000 $7,000 a month,
Hmm.
give or take. So I mean, it was a nice cash flowing asset.
Obviously, it was a site that was decimated by HCU. We'll show you the chart here in a second, but again, he went from uh, some of these days he's getting 4,500 clicks a day, and at the low point, I mean, I see like 20, 12 clicks this day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think that's even a fraction that 4,500. That's 0.2%. So 99.8% loss in traffic.
Yeah, and I'll talk more about it because there's other nuances to it, but yeah, it's devastating.
So you had a 99.8% drop in traffic. What did you do anything to try and recover it? What was the story about post HCU as it's dropping and then it's gradually going more and all of this? What's your process to try and turn it around?
Oh man, I feel like we tried everything. The whole in the SEO world, when an update comes and you can tell your site is being affected by an update starts to roll out. It rolls out typically 3 to 4 weeks, and then Google says update is complete. Give or take maybe a few days. Sometimes you can see effects at any point during that update. So you can think you can hear people in the industry saying, "Oh, my site's getting hit. Your site's normal." All right. You could come towards the tail end of the update, and then your site gets slapped. So the whole, the recommendation in the industry, best practice in the industry is to hold tight, wait till the update is fully rolled out, and then address things. But it doesn't work like that because you start to see your site is affected. You start to see the effects of it, the traffic drop, and you just want to try and stop the bleed. So you naturally go in and try and do things. So I don't know the order at which these things were done, but kind of there still is a lot of speculation around the helpful content update and, what it really was doing, what it was affecting. A lot of speculation was that it was around user experience. The whole idea is that you want to get the searcher what they're looking for as quick as possible. So people are like, oh, well, they're looking at the bounce rate. They're looking at metrics. When they come in off of the SERPs and they hit your piece of content, do they go back to the SERPs and stay longer on another result in the SERPs? That would, kind of make it seem like you're not providing the information that people are looking for.
Yep.
If that's happening to a certain percentage of your content, then your site gets slapped with this helpful content update. So the first thing that we did was we were subscribing to the whole idea that it's solely content based. Another theory, because we ran mostly display ad sites, was that ads above the fold, which most premium ad networks manage that pretty well. They let the full site load, and then as soon as you start to scroll, then ads will start to appear. So we turned down our ad density. We made sure that we added code to our site so that ads weren't displaying above the fold, like at all, anywhere. Then we took a decent amount of content and had the first portion of the articles rewritten, saying, like, okay, are we taking too long to get the answer that they're looking for? Let's really rewrite it, make it very concise. Excuse me. We experimented with putting like call out boxes in a lot of the content. That's like, as soon as the page loads, like, here's the answer you're looking for. Here's the information you're looking for. On the parenting site specifically, one of the things that I tried doing was a lot of people were like, oh, well, e-commerce sites they don't seem to be getting hit. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, let's turn this into an e-commerce site. Literally fired up an Etsy account with my wife and told her, like, hey, let's start to design some principles around different holidays and put WooCommerce on the site. Had a full-on shop selling these principles. Still sell principles to this day because of this site. Got a legitimate phone number. Put all of our mailing information on the site. Like, literally everything. We tried everything. No indexing content that wasn't getting traffic. That was another thing that we did. We audited all the content. Said if a certain page had not gotten more than 30 visits in a 3-month period of time, we would no index or delete the content or redirect it. So we did a lot of stuff to try and save the sites.
So with all that not working, I know you and I are in a group that there were some rumors of a little trick that was working for some HCU sites.
Mhm.
So I know we had talked about it, and I'm glad you were one of the test dummies so that we can talk about it. But uh,
Yeah.
tell me what worked, what was the results, and just kind of like how crazy that
Yeah.
how funny that's part of it was.
Yeah, when you have a site that's been absolutely crushed, it turns into it turns into a testing ground, which is kind of a nice thing. Because that's the thing is like people are trying to get their sites reclassified. They're like, oh, there's a classifier that's been applied to my site, and I need to do these things to get the classifier lifted. Okay, well, all right, cool. Um, so the theory, which people were discussing in this group, was that uh, the helpful content update is basically a domain level, not a penalty, a domain level filter or tag that is assigned to your domain. And the theory is that if you take that site and you move that site from, let's in my case, a .com to a variation of that domain that is a .net, move everything over, do a 301 redirect one for one to the new domain, then you can see recovery. And it got me thinking. I think Matt, you brought it to my attention because you knew I had a portfolio that had gotten smashed into oblivion. So you said, "Hey, you should try this out." So I tried it out because at that point I had nothing to lose. I mean, the site was making at that point like $200 a month or something. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't done anything to it. It's just sitting there. So I did it,
Sweet.
and I mean,
Instant. It was instant.
yeah, it was instant. It literally because it's a site that gets crawled a lot. It's got
Yep.
a nice crawl budget. It's a big site. It's been around for a while, so Google knows that it's there. It wasn't ever removed from index or anything like that. I made the change, put the 301 in place, moved the site over. I mean, duped the site, moved it over to the new domain, and yeah, instantly saw the effects. So
With our app SEO Gets, we can basically show the two domains side by side in one graph through the combined metrics. But going back to the last 16 months, we can see here, I mean, it's weird because you saw this spike in August where, I mean, you're getting at 26, 27, 2,800 clicks. And then it was like, oh man, we love this site. Like just a
yeah,
huge growth.
hmm
And then, so the peak hit September 17th. You had 4,200 clicks. And by the 20th, so in 3 days, you had lost what, 60, 70% of your traffic in 3 days.
yeah, yep,
And then people were like, oh, it'll bounce back, it'll recover. And you can see here, this was, and then in March, they had another update, which was the nail in the coffin for a lot of HCU sites. Where it was like, man, okay, we need to survive until the next update, and then it'll recover. And it was like Google just
yeah. And you
it's
could
like
see it
the
plateaued.
meme where they give you the high five as you're drowning. Like, yeah, good job.
Yeah,
Like, and then
no
you can
chance.
see it just, I mean, just flat lines down here, and then we get down here to September, and again 21 clicks, and then you did this redirect, and we just start climbing, like so it September
18th, I think is the date that I did it. 17th or 18th, yeah.
to the 24th. So in 1 week, you what 25x your traffic.
Yeah.
So like that's so 2,500% growth in a week by literally just switching the domain and doing a 301 redirect. Clone
Yeah, so
clone clone the site.
clone site, nothing, no content change, nothing.
And since then, have you been doing anything? Because it's definitely, obviously it's not back to previous heights. I mean, right now it's looking at 700 clicks. You're still at a
Yeah.
third of this what the site was, obviously,
hmm
but it's 25 times more than what it was prior to the domain switch. So I don't know how much of HCU audits and all of these updates and recoveries. It's hard to see the big scope, and so it's cool to see it in this one. Being transparent with like, yeah, this is a great improvement. It's still 66% of what it used to be. And you can see it down here, the two different graphs. Um, but it looks like you're tracking on your way up both impressions and clicks. Are you have you done anything to it since you switched to the domains? Are you going to do anything with it? What's kind of your plan with the site going forward?
I have not done anything. I literally have not done anything. I moved the domain. I moved the site over to the .net and put the 301 in place, and have literally not done anything to the site. Have not changed site design, layout, anything like that. Have not added any new content. So seeing this, it does make me think. Okay, a couple things. What will adding new content do? Is that something that I should consider? And then the other thing, just because I really do try and think, what could happen again? Like, what's the longevity of something like this? Like, how does it have longevity, or is it just a matter of time before Google catches up to it and pulls the rug out from under me again? So I don't know the answer to that. I think I probably will start to put some more content onto the site just to see if I can get it to come back to life. I might even go in and delete some content, just prune some content, just to see if that kind of helps out a little bit. But other than that, I mean, I don't really have any. I don't think that the content plan that I was executing prior to getting hit by HCU, I don't think it's a viable. It's not a viable strategy any longer. So I don't really have, other than just putting up new content, I don't really have like a great strategy for that site. So, I mean, if I can get it to grow and come back to 50% of what it was, I think I'd be pretty happy. And I would just probably, add a little bit of content on there, have some stuff refreshed, just let it cash flow, because there's zero expense besides hosting.
So now that a lot of people don't believe it to be a reliable or consistent cash flow asset anymore because of HCU. What have you been doing with SEO since then? You have an agency. You want to talk a little bit about that, kind of the transition between managing your own assets to now helping others manage assets?
So, I mean, obviously when you get your world rocked like that, there's a decent amount of time where you're stunned, honestly. And there was probably 6 to 8 month period of time where I would say, just being transparent, I was very I was in denial, like, for a long time. Like, this can't be real. I was holding on to the hope that, like a lot of people were and still are, that I'm just waiting until the next update. I'm waiting until the next core update and things are going to change for me. So once I got out of that mindset, I'm like, all right, well, I've been doing this for years at this point. I have a good understanding of, while I was doing SEO on a national level, which in a lot of cases, the terms that we were targeting and things were much more competitive. So I've kind of pivoted and transitioned my skill set into more of a local setting, focusing on local SEO, working with small business owners that, maybe have been burned in the past, have not had a good experience with SEO, maybe have never even, they don't even have a website. So starting from square one with a lot of clients. And it's been fun. I mean, it's cool because the skill set does transfer over very, very easily. But there is a lot of nuance that is unique to local SEO that you don't necessarily have to deal with as much with national SEO.
So everyone's favorite question in our industry, what's your tool stack? What are you using right now? What do you like?
Yeah, I mean, I use a lot of the same stuff. I'm still in the Ahrefs world. As much as I'd like to get rid of it, I just honestly can't. So use that. SEO Gets, I use every single day. It is awesome. Previously I was, when you manage a portfolio of sites, some of them are not in the same, and probably shouldn't be necessarily in the same Google Search Console. So logging into multiple search consoles to check sites is crazy. It's a pain in the butt. So SEO Gets has been pretty awesome for that. It's one dashboard for all the sites that you manage or have access to. So that is definitely in the tool stack. Neuron Writer, just coming from a content background, Neuron Writer is something that I use pretty regularly. I do use AI writers. So I've been using Perplexity a little bit more. I still use GPT. Perplexity is pretty cool. What else? And then Majestic. I've been using a fair amount lately as well.
Okay. Sweet. So on a anything, nothing is off limits. What's something that's been exciting in your life or exciting to you right now?
Well, we're getting ready to have a baby later this month, so that's pretty darn exciting. We're on the home stretch there. Another little baby boy to be born. That's pretty exciting. I mean, honestly, the local SEO stuff is exciting to me because it's kind of like a breath of fresh air, honestly. It's allowed me to, I've always loved business. I've always been intrigued by how people make their money. And obviously, growing that top line revenue. Seeing what I've done with this project, with the parenting site, I'm actually going to be resurrecting another site that I have that's in the in the gardening space. I kind of just made the decision that I was going to be doing that within the last couple of days, honestly. So the play there is going to be turn it into either an e-commerce site or turn it into a drop shipping site. So do the same type of thing, do a 301, get a new domain, forward everything over, and then add a shop to it and either drop ship or do an affiliate play with it.
I love the term resurrecting. That's it's the most accurate term in the industry right now. I'm resurrecting this site. Sweet. Last thing, how can people get a hold of you?
630 digital, 630 the number 630digital.com. That is my local SEO agency. That's probably the best way. Just drop me a contact form submission and I will connect with you.
Well, thanks for jumping on this call, dude. I love it's crazy with the everything that's happened with HCU, hearing everyone's different stories, and it's crazy that you try all these things and then it's as simple as clone a site, 301 redirect, and you get 25 times more traffic than you did last week. But
there's a decent amount of risk with it as well. I think that's something that has to be kind of understood. The site could go to zero. But I think when it's in a position like that, the upside is much greater than the risk. So it's definitely worth taking a shot. But yeah, it's been fun, man. A little walk down memory lane. It's not as painful as it was when you're going through it firsthand, but it's been fun, man.
Thanks again for hopping on the call, and we hope everyone listening enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again next time. See ya.
All right, so wanted to give you an update on the site from when we recorded the original interview. So obviously you have back here getting a ton of clicks around, again, November, HCU hits, boom, kills them down here. Again, in the video, we talked about the 301 redirect here. You can see this is the chart combined with the two sites together. So you can see this was when we did the 301 redirect, boom, into here. And this is the chart that shows it all together. So obviously declining, 301 redirect, boom, instant skyrocket, going from 20 clicks a day to 500 clicks, 600 clicks per day. I mean, just huge. However, as we know, all good things must come to an end. And when you experiment, Google will often experiment back and just roast you. And what we can see is when I pull up this second site, when we redid the redirect, right here, and this is the nice thing with these Google toggles, is that we can see November core update, boom, falls off the cliff again. And then falls off the cliff again one more time in November. So this is probably when it was, so the rollout was completed December 5th. So you can see the rollout and then boom, was completed December 5th right here. So it was interesting to see that this started here, boom, boom, two heavy drops. And then Google decided that that's what was appropriate, which I can't argue with that. We were testing something to play the system. The site shouldn't have been hit in the first place. If you watched the interview, you would know that it was a good site with good content, and I don't know why it was hit by HCU. So we tried this, and it worked for a little while until it didn't. So again, like we, as SEOs know, everything comes with experimentation. Don't trust people's opinions. Test things for yourself, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. The other interesting thing here is that on December 18th, the next core update started on the 12th to the 18th. And while we can see a little bump up and then kind of stagnant, I have another site here that was, none of these sites are mine. These are friends, or I'm consulting on these sites. And this site was hit by HCU. And you can see here on December 12th, he started to get some of his traffic back again. 5 clicks a day up to 15, 20, 26. I mean, it's just kind of all over the place. But obviously the impressions and kind of everything, it started getting more visibility. I can come down here to my query counting and see that, these are how many queries the site was ranking for, and then boom, we got a bunch of expansion in terms of visibility, but obviously just a little bit of clicks difference. Some, but when I go out and I zoom out to the big view point, that's the increase here. So at the height, it was getting a couple hundred clicks a day, and it's like, oh look, we recovered up to 22, up to 13, but obviously not really a recovery. Although we did recover to like the same amount of queries here in February, which is here. So like that's double the clicks. So obviously our rankings are lower, even though we have the same amount of impressions. So I wanted to add this onto the end of the video because I think this is important information that, again, do your own research, try things. Google, as much as I hate to say this, does not always get things right. This site was a good site, written by real people, no AI, fact-checked, had people come in and make sure everything was good, and it got killed. So at some point when Google comes to ruin your livelihood, you got to start trying different games to see why Google's doing those things. So it's interesting that the content seemed to be good, but who knows? Again, good luck to you all, and hope this video was entertaining.